What's good, everybody? I am Winston A. Marshall, aka the Swaggy Blerd, and this is the Blerd Breakdown, the pop culture show for when you need to know. See what had happened was. Now, if this is your first time here, you already know what you got to do, man. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, throw a thumbs up on this video. That way, you know every time I've got new content dropping, you can come back in, check it all out. I got everything from comedy to news, to movie reviews, TV reviews, all that good stuff, man. So you don't want to miss that. But thank you so much for joining. For those that are returning, welcome back. You know I'm happy to see you, of course. Got to give a shout out to Cowboys fan 92 who's in here immediately talking about let's go. You already know what it is, man. I tried to tell y'all the Eagles were sus, but people don't want to listen to me. They think I'm just a hater. All that good stuff. But we will talk about that win, of course. We have a lot to get to. Before we do that, I want to go ahead and let you know, streamlabs.com/theswaggyblerd/tip. Streamlabs.com/theswaggyblerd/tip if you want to get in a donation. You can see right here the bar that's there. I am raising money for a short film that I'm shooting about black mental health. So I would love for your support there. All the proceeds from the Stream Labs go to that. You can also send in a super chat just to support the show and get a question in, all that good stuff. So yeah, all right, that's pretty much it. So let's jump right into it, man. And this first story, when I saw it, had me pretty devastated that we came so close to disaster, but we got to talk about it right away. Donald Glover admitted during his Camp Flog performance that he had a stroke and had heart surgery and almost died. This is the report from Sci-Fi Fantasy Gazette. They're associated with Comic Book Movie. They're an affiliate. Donald Glover has had a fascinating career. Following his breakout role in Community, he went on to become a renowned multi-hyphenate. And I would actually make an argument that before that, he was a big deal with Derek Comedy and writing on 30 Rock, but I digress. A rare occurrence in Hollywood, he's maintained a prolific career as both a musician and an actor. In the sci-fi world, he perhaps is best known for solo a Star Wars story as a younger Lando Calrissian and portraying Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming. 2024, he announced the cancellation of his New World tour, citing health reasons. Now, the artist who retired his Childish Gambino moniker last year has revealed this was due to serious health conditions. Performing at Tyler the Creator's Camp Flog Gnaw Festival on Saturday, November 22nd. We'll watch the video of what he had to say in a minute. Glover addressed the tour cancellation and his time away from the public eye. Addressing his audience, he explained that during a performance, he began experiencing a headache and couldn't see well. He went to the hospital, and the doctor informed him he had had a stroke. All right, let's just watch this video real quick. I do have it kind of primed here. Let's see. Okay. Let me make sure you guys can hear this first. Probably not. Okay, I don't think that went through sound-wise, so let me alter that. 1 second. Shout out to the super chat I saw come in from Izzy. Thank you so much. We'll be sure to read those at the end of the show. Sorry, give me 1 second. I realized that I've been having audio issues previously, and we need to change that. Let's see, audio input. Sorry, y'all. Should have been able to figure this out beforehand. Let's see if that does it. Can you hear this? I don't think so. I'm still having audio issues, so I apologize. So I will just read. I'll just read the story instead. I do apologize. Let's go back. He says, you guys voted for Where Have I Been monologue. Okay, so I was doing this world tour, having lots of fun, really loving seeing you guys out there, and I had a really bad pain in my head in Louisiana. And I did the show anyway. I couldn't really see well, so when we went to Houston, I went to the hospital, and the doctor was like, you had a stroke. The first thing I thought was, oh, here I am, still copying Jamie Foxx. That's really like the second thing. The first thing was, I'm letting everybody down. The actor further revealed he had broken his foot and had discovered a hole in his heart for which he underwent 2 surgeries. I know, letting everyone down is not true, but I've broken my foot. I always promised Ireland I'm going to be there, and I still haven't been. And they found a hole in my heart, so I had this surgery, and then I had to have another surgery. So, you know, they say everybody has 2 lives, and the second one starts when you realize you have one. Glover then shared an inspirational message for his audience, expressing his gratitude for being able to perform for them. You got one life, guys, and I got to be honest, the life I've lived with you guys has been such a blessing. I love seeing and performing for you guys, as my wife says, which I love. She's like, if this life is a flavor, soon as I'm done, give me another scoop. You should be living your life however you want because it can only get better. If we have to do this again, it can only get better. When canceling the tour in 2024, Glover said on social media, "Hey everyone, unfortunately I have to postpone the rest of the North American tour to focus on my physical health for a few weeks. Hold on to your tickets. All tickets will be honored for the upcoming dates in North America when they are rescheduled. Thank you for the privacy. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love." Ultimately, the show was fully canceled and refunded. I can tell you that much because I was refunded myself. So here we go. Myself and Jay Washington, for those that don't know, do a show called Blerd in the Hood. And a couple weeks ago, when D'Angelo passed, we did a whole thing about black health and how there is this weird block that a lot of black folk have about taking care of themselves, about going to the doctor. And it's mainly a problem with black men, but just as a whole, part of that comes from a multitude of places. The first being that obviously healthcare in America is severely fucking broken. So for a lot of people, it is just a massive expense that they just can't afford. The fact that you have the ACA, which is about to be gutted, and people's premiums that use the ACA or the Affordable Care Act are not going to be able to afford their insurance anymore. Myself included, where, I'm right now, my premiums and then my pills, like my medicines that I have to take, all of that is going to double. And I will be priced out of essentially care. So, which is incredibly frustrating and a whole separate conversation. But that's one of the reasons why people, a lot of black folk in particular, don't go out and take care of themselves. The second reason is, I guess it's threefold. The second one kind of they both root back towards history. The second one towards slavery and this idea of we always had to just be okay. Slavery and Jim Crow. The idea of like black folk just had to buck up and carry on because the world and the white supremacy and everything else was going to claim your life. If you were weak, then you were going to be cold. It was that kind of idea. The same way that, like, it's sad to say, but you see that with like, racehorses and stuff like that. If you can't work anymore, if you can't race, then you're not useful. So there's also that mentality of the idea of buck up, you'll be fine, be strong, you can do it. And then the third reason is the idea, also rooted in racism, of how at times we have seen the government and doctors experiment on black people. Look at the Tuskegee experiments and things like that. Or in this case that you just saw recently in Dallas of a black woman who was in active labor, and this nurse, in her own racism, because there's this weird notion in the medical community that black women are just stronger than that. They don't actually need painkillers. This is all just to get drugs, stuff like that. A lot of black people are not listened to about their health. So when you throw all three of those in tandem, black folk in a lot of ways do not always go to the doctor and take care of themselves. We decided to talk about that because look at how many people in general are going young, but especially black stars are going young. And it doesn't help as well that like a lot of our food, as flavorful as it is, leads to a lot of high blood pressure and heart disease just because of like, high caloric and high fatty and salty foods that are part of our, our diets and whatnot. So I say all that to say, we need folks to go and take care of themselves. We lost Chadwick at 40. We almost lost Donald Glover before he was 40. Jamie Foxx almost died at like in his late 50s, like early to late 50s from a stroke, things like that. I mean, we lost D'Angelo. He was only 50. Bernie Mac died barely into, I want to say he was 50. Michael Jackson died at 50. It's crazy that previously we had talked about the idea of a young black man making it to 21 being like a thing. We need to be around for the time to see the generations behind us, man, and to help lead and go into the future. Health, both physical and mental, has to be a priority for the black community. Now, that applies to everybody. I think this is advice that everybody, if you are not the person that goes to the dentist, goes to the doctor, goes to the eye doctor, gets your workouts in, gets therapy, all of that, it's all so incredibly important. And this pressure that we put on people in the modern world in general, but especially here in America, is just really, really bad. And this is the type of thing that is terrifying. So, like, to that point, I am genuinely concerned and mortified. I would have been devastated if Donald Glover had passed. I think that would have 1,000% just kind of broken my brain, because he has been probably my favorite artist, period, acting, writing, or rapping wise. And so the idea of him potentially having gone early would have been horrible. But I'm so grateful that he caught the health scare. His doctors advised him properly, and he took the time he needed to go recover, to be there for his family, for his young kids, because I believe he now has 2 kids now, and he got married in secret a little while ago, things like that. I'm glad that he's there for them, but for himself, that he gets to enjoy the rest of life, let alone the fans that we still have him here. So the main takeaway from this story, if you haven't already, especially knowing that things are going to change pretty desperately for the ACA at the end of this month, the end of December here, go get a checkup. Just go get as much stuff as your insurance or whatever you have can afford, just to make sure that you're okay, and then take those steps. Eat better, work out, look into therapy, like meditate, get fresh, all of it. It is so vitally important. So that's my quick 2 cents on that. I'm so grateful that Donald Glover is still here. You let me know what you think about this story, man. What you've heard about it, how you're feeling, and drop it in the comments. I greatly appreciate it. So, all right, let's move on to this next story. Kendrick Lamar's project with the creators of South Park has been pushed again. In March of 2025, Paramount announced the original premiere date as July 4th of this year had been shifted to March 20th of next year. Now the project's delayed again, with no new date revealed. This is from The Hollywood Reporter. The release date for Kendrick Lamar's comedy from South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone has been pushed back yet again. The film's release date has been delayed. The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed it's already been shifted from its original debut of July 4th of this year. It's true, we're moving again, Park County and PG Lang said in a statement. We're working hard at finishing the movie. In March, the Untitled project shifted its release date for the first time to March 20th of 26, as we just mentioned, due to scheduling complications with Lamar's co-headlining tour with SZA, as Parker and Stone have been working on South Park. The theatrical date has not yet been revealed. The Untitled film hails from Paramount Pictures, with Vernon Chapman penning the script. Lamar and Dave Free are producing via their company PG Lang, while Stone and Parker produce for Park County. At CinemaCon last year, Paramount's Brian Robbins said the movie is one of the funniest and most original scripts we've ever had. I'm excited to announce that we're going into production this summer on a comedy from the creators of South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker. Robbins additionally said at the same. Stone and Parker created South Park in '97, with the animated series currently airing its 28th installment. They've also worked on 2004's Team America World Police and co-wrote the Tony-winning Broadway musical The Book of Mormon. Lamar has been pretty busy himself, as notably headlined the Super Bowl halftime show in 2025, took home 5 Grammys at the 2025 ceremony. The Not Like Us singer recently picked up 9 more nominations from the Recording Academy, leading the slate of 2026 nominees. All right. This bums me up for a few reasons. You're talking about 3 creative minds that have been at the absolute top of their game. And what this movie was originally supposed to be sounded really interesting as well. I'm trying to remember the immediate parameters of it. Let's see, what Kendrick, Lamar, Trey, and Matt. What is it? Whitney? Is it Whitney Springs? I think it was called Whitney Springs. So the main premise was the film will depict the past and present coming to a head when a young black man who is interning as a slave reenactor at a living history museum discovers that his white girlfriend's ancestor once owned his. So again, knowing how funny Trey Parker and Matt Stone are and how they have taken on all sorts of stuff previously in the past, and then the idea of you were going to have, Kendrick in there to not only give his creative input, but to make sure that it was like all within bounds, like that all sounded absolutely incredible. So the idea that this has been pushed yet again genuinely sucks. And what I really hope is not happening is because, again, we have seen what's been going on with Paramount Skydance, is that this isn't some sort of like axing, like soft axing that's happening from Ellison who has essentially been like, we're done with the DEI shit or whatever else, and like this idea of like he knows he can't touch South Park because it makes too much money for the company, but maybe he can axe other things from them that might piss him off as far as keeping his kind of MAGA sensibilities for Paramount Skydance going forward. So either way, I really, really hope that the movie doesn't get fully destroyed. I genuinely think it would be very funny. And I trust the three of them to really kind of helm all that. But I'm curious what you think. Get in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. If you're on the same page or if you're like, I had never heard of this movie, I don't give a shit, you can go. Let me know what you think in the comments. And let's get it pushing to our next story where I have to somehow admit this, but I got to keep the same energy. I agree with Trump about something. Donald Trump has been pressing the Paramount CEO, David Ellison, to revive the Rush Hour franchise. Now, this is from Comic Book Movie, Mark Julian reporting. A chatter about a possible Warner Brothers Discovery sale keeps circulating across the industry and will likely continue through the holidays as WB has set Christmas as a deadline for the decision. A new piece from political outlet Semaphore adds another somewhat humorous wrinkle to the story. According to the report, Larry Ellison, Oracle founder and one of Trump's major political backers, has been getting some creative input from the former president. The current president? Whatever. With Trump's experience in reality TV and his well-documented love for old-school action fare, he reportedly nudged Ellison towards reviving the kind of loud, crowd-pleasing hits that he loved from the 80s and 90s. Through the newly formed Paramount Skydance entity, where Larry's son David holds controlling interest, Trump is said to be championing the return of big, energetic action comedies. Semaphore's success sources claim he's especially fond of Jean-Claude Van Damme's Bloodsport and has been urging Ellison to fast-track another Rush Hour movie with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. All of this is unfolding against reports that the current administration seems more receptive to the Ellison family's Paramount Skydance proposal than to the other potential buyers, including Universal, Netflix, and Amazon. So let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can read this quote here, if it's like even worth reading. So we hadn't been airborne long when Trump decided to watch a movie. He brought along Michael, a recent release, but 20 minutes after popping it in the VCR, he got bored and switched to an old favorite, Jean-Claude Van Damme slugfest called Bloodsport, in which he pronounced an incredible and fantastic movie. By assigning to his son the task of fast-forwarding through all the plot exposition, Trump's goal being to get this 2-hour movie down to 45 minutes. He eliminated any lulls between the nose-hammering, kidney tenderizing, and shin-whacking. When a beefy bad guy was about to squish a normal-sized good guy received a crippling blow to the scrotum, I laughed. Admit it, you're laughing, Trump shouted. You want to write that Donald Trump was loving this ridiculous Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, but you're willing to put it in there that you were loving it too, aren't you? So, like, look, man, like I said, I got to keep the same energy. I agree with him for a couple of reasons. The first one being that I have never hidden that my favorite movie, I consider Rush Hour 1 and 2 to be one movie just because of the continuation of it. It is my favorite movie of all time, or movies. They are perfect. The Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker play off each other exceptionally well. I have been quoting so much of it. There was a lot of like stars that were actually embedded in those movies that we just didn't even realize at the time. I would absolutely agree that we need to bring it back. Now, mind you, Rush Hour 3 wasn't the best. So there is this level of like, are we sure we want to go back down this road yet again? But in all honesty, as we've gotten a lot better with kind of reboots or picking back up with films, I am fully for it, and I think that that's something that should happen. But where I think Trump is right is the idea that there is this level of bullshit that's gone on in the industry where we have allowed, ironically, people like the Ellisons, a lot of tech bro companies and things like that, to put their money in there and go, here, I'm giving you $500 million, go bring me 1.52 billion back in returns and things like that. And trying to dictate how art and movies are supposed to go. So this idea of hardcore pouring into IP and things like that, it has become a problem because that means that then you're not allowing smaller films, whether they be comedy, action comedy, horror, whatever, to really thrive and let that be the device that brings us our new movie stars or the people that we're following. If anything, I really like Glenn Powell. I don't really care for Sydney Sweeney one way or the other. Hit or miss, I don't care. But there has been this idea of trying to force the next movie star. I think instead having those smaller things pop up and let the audience select who's the next person they want to do, like who they want to follow, is the way to go. So, for example, I think about in the heyday of the 90s and the early 2000s, some of the movies that came out, the American Pies, the Superbads, the Screams, which that stuff grows into mega franchises, or it shows us those next people that are supposed to come in and like be the it girl or guy. Um, that happens with small budget movies that allow people to go laugh and enjoy themselves, and let alone not only that, to get in and out in like a quick 90-minute at maximum 2 hour romp. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, that was a good time. That is what is actually missing from Hollywood right now. Everything feels like, if it's, is it related to a book or a comic book or a video game or some sort of IP that was already there? Let's reboot a movie franchise. You know, Harry Potter did so great. Let's go back and just do Harry Potter all over again as a TV series. I'm glad that DC rebooted itself, but like DC Comics rebooted itself, but that's a whole other reboot. You know what I'm saying? Hunger Games. We couldn't come up with anything else, so let's do Hunger Game prequels. That is where we're at this point. And then you end up with monstrosities like Jurassic Park Rebirth or Jurassic World Rebirth or Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and you're pouring 300 something mil into those movies for them to bomb. Or Jurassic Rebirth did fine because it's dinosaurs, but like nobody went to that and went, that was a great time. They were just like, okay, cool. That to me is part of the problem. We are not allowing for the smaller stuff to exist and for folks to really fall in love with movies in that regard, to have that like escape to kind of do that kind of stuff, which still has, you know, plenty to learn from, to look at and like have an expose of like what the world is like, but something a little more contained. It doesn't all have to be some epic of Polly Pocket. You know what I'm saying? Like that has gotten a little out of control in my opinion. So like I said, I hate to admit it, but I keep the same energy, man. Trump is right in this case. Um, Probably won't say that very often, but you know, broken clock is right twice a day. But what do you think, man? Tell me what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you like, nah, let all that kind of stuff, let Rush Hour die? You're wrong. Rush Hour is fantastic, but I would still like to know what you were thinking. So let me know in the comments. Now, it's funny I just mentioned about not just going straight into IPs and spinoffs and stuff, but I have to talk about one of my favorite TV shows that is apparently getting a spinoff with one of my favorite actors. The Rookie is going to be doing a spinoff series, and they got a pilot order specifically, and Jay Ellis from Top Gun Maverick and from Insecure is going to be leading the show. This is Variety's report. ABC is moving forward with the Rookie spinoff, The Rookie North, with the Broadcasting Network giving the project a pilot order. In addition, Jay Ellis, it has been cast in the lead role of the project, which was first reported to be in development at ABC back in December of 24. The Rookie North has moved steadily forward toward a pilot order since then. The official logline for the show states Alex Holland, played by Ellis, believed his midlife wasn't worthy of a crisis, but after a violent home invasion ignites a dormant purpose, Alex battles a lifetime of failed commitments by joining the Pierce County Police Department as its oldest rookie. Policing from the urban coast to the rural forest, where backup isn't just 5 minutes away, Alex must prove his skeptical training officer, his fellow rookies, and himself, that he's finally found something worthy of the fight. All right. This is something that I've been pretty honest about that's like so weird. I really am not a fan of cops and the police. I have had too many bad experiences just as a black man with racism and things like that. I don't like it. Yet for some reason, I fucking love cop shows. I love SVU. It's probably one of my favorite shows of all time. I'm on to the original Law and Order. I watch SWAT. I love The Rookie. The Rookie is one of my favorite long-running shows on TV right now, not just because of Nathan Fillion being awesome, but I think the show has got good action. It's funny, and all the places need to be. The cast is lovable. I enjoyed the other spinoff, the Rookie Feds, but it just didn't, I don't think it had the staying power, but I'm really hoping this time with Jay Ellis, because I think he's very talented. Not that I don't think that the cast of Feds wasn't, but I just don't think it hit. I really hope that this ends up going the distance, man. They got the pilot order. Hopefully, the show works and it goes long running. And from my mouth to God's ears, man, that I end up on this show at some point or another. I think that would be awesome. Um, the Rookie, I would definitely say if you're looking for a nice procedural, it's a lot of fun. It's a very interesting premise. Obviously, Nathan Fillion has not been his character. John Nolan has not been a rookie for seasons now, so years. But obviously, that's just kind of where it starts. It's an older person becoming a rookie in law enforcement, later in life. So it's really really interesting. I think definitely check it out. They did a really good job with both the pandemic, but then like with the Black Lives Matter protests, with the George Floyd protests, and this idea of the standoff between black communities and the police. I think that they really handle that exceptionally well, and I trust the creator of the show to be able to do that again here, and especially with Jay Ellis in the lead, man. I mean, I think he's incredibly talented, and I'm glad to see he's getting more and more work. So nothing but love for that. Shout out to another super chat that just came in from Norvell Ross. Thank you so much. I'll be sure to read that at the end of the show. But for now, I want to know what you think. Are you going to check out The Rookie? Is that something that you'd be, The Rookie North? Is that something you'd be into or not? Let me know what you think down in the comments, man, about any of that. And let's get to our final set of stories, the sports update, and then we will get to these super chats. So, we got a number of stories here. I had to talk about it. My Cowboys have routed the Eagles, man, in a stunner 24-21 at home. It was a crazy game when you consider you had the Eagles going up 21-0 before the end of the first half. The Cowboys got a touchdown in right before the half went out and then proceeded to score 17 unanswered points in the second half and shutting out the Eagles entirely. Dak Prescott went off for 354 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception with a QBR of 60.1. You also had George Pickens with 9 receptions, 146 yards and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, we're going to have to talk about CeeDee in a little bit, man. I love CeeDee. He's probably my favorite player in football. He had 11 targets. He has had 7 drops in these 2 games with the Eagles this season. He has been dropping like crazy, which is going back to some issues we saw in his first and second year, where he seemed to have gotten over that, but now it's kind of back to that. Javonte Williams, 87 yards off 20 carries. But the main story, honestly, is the Eagles and kind of their collapse here. You had Jalen Hurts throwing for 289, 1 touchdown with a QBR of 54.5. A.J. Brown, who has been sounding the alarm about the lack of offense that the team has been able to put together at 8 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown off of 10 targets. So he was at least getting looked at more. Devontae Smith also had 6 receptions for 89 yards and off of 11 targets. But Saquon Barkley, 10 rushes, only 22 yards. This is the reigning offensive player of the year, almost broke a record last year for his rushing and all that kind of stuff. It was not good for the Eagles. They were not good, period. Their offense is stagnant, and that defense has gaps when an offensive team can come through and start to pick them apart, man. They made a lot of mistakes, a lot of turnovers. They had a number of fumbles that were lost. So they had 2 lost fumbles there. And an almost really bad interception as well from Jalen. So I think this just says a couple of things. I think first it says, how about them Cowboys, motherfuckers? To that point, I actually want to show you this incredible thing. The Eagles posted this. Who getting past this? This is supposed to be their defensive wall here, right? Who getting past this? And the Cowboys trolled him back by having a Kool-Aid man. Dak jump through that wall, baby. Oh my God, I just had to show that because I love that. But I think this is the same thing I've been saying. Two Fly Cam is not in here. L Boogie's not in here. I'm sure I'll talk about it tomorrow on Spill the Tequila with Roca. This is what I meant about the Eagles' offense is a problem if the point is for them. You said I have an echo? I still have an echo? Anyway. If the point of all of this is to see what for the Eagles to try and repeat, what you need to do then is Oh, it was just the screen sharing that did it. Okay, great. Um, if the point is for the Eagles to repeat, your offense has to get rolling. Either Saquon needs to start running his ass off because he does not look like the Saquon of last year, and I don't know if that's fatigue or if the line is just that bad or whatever it is. Jalen has to be consistently good. He like our like defensive front, our twin tackles there of Clark and Quinnen Williams really kicked some ass and stopped Saquon from being able to run like that. They were a problem. But we're supposed to be one of the lesser teams at 5-5-1. What are you going to do when, like, I know you've already beaten the Rams, but that is the Rams are getting better and better and better and better. It is going to be a problem when you're really dealing with a team that is fully put together. So this shows that the Cowboys can be a threat. It might be too late for them to really. They're going to have to go on a run for the rest of the year in order to make the playoffs. So it might be a little too late for them to get into the picture. But for the sake of all you Eagle fans that care one way or the other, they need to figure it out, bro, because otherwise y'all might lose week one, the first week of the playoffs like you did a couple years ago where you were barely winning games. Yeah, you went 11-1 in a stretch, but you got bounced. Like you lost like your last four, and they got bounced the first round of the playoffs. So that's just my 2 cents. Now let's kind of talk about, before we get to Shedeur Sanders, we got to talk about Justin Tucker. This is the former All-Pro kicker for the Baltimore Ravens. His 10-game suspension is up. You know, he was cut by the Ravens previously. Well, the Saints are going to give him a tryout, the first that he'll have since his ban of 10 games. This is ESPN's report. The New Orleans Saints are bringing in former Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker for a tryout. Coach Kellen Moore confirmed Monday. Tucker and Cade York are the 2 kickers who will try out for the Saints on Tuesday after Blake Grupe missed 2 field goals against the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday. Tucker was suspended for the first 10 weeks of the 2025 NFL season because of violation of the NFL's personal conduct policy and was made eligible for reinstatement on November 11th. This is his first tryout since his suspension ended. The Ravens released Tucker in May after he was investigated by the NFL for sexual misconduct. The investigation began after the Baltimore Banner reported that 16 massage therapists at 8 different spas in the Baltimore area accused Tucker of sexual misconduct and incidents that reportedly occurred between 2012 and 2016. Tucker has repeatedly denied the allegations and called them unequivocally false in a social media post last spring. Moore was asked if he intended to speak to Tucker about those allegations during his visit. He said, "That's all part of the visit and the conversations that you have to have." Just like a lot of players, there's the field component of this thing that you get guys in here to evaluate them, but also you just want to get to know the people and to get to know maybe a circumstance here and there. And certainly he had a suspension in the league. He served that suspension, Moore said. Obviously, there's some information to collect. Obviously, our personnel group will do a really good job of collecting all the information, having the conversations, but this will be a workout, and we'll see how this stuff takes place. Moore cited Tucker's accomplishments in Baltimore as one of the reasons the Saints wanted to bring him in for the workout. Tucker, 36, signed with the Ravens as an undrafted rookie free agent in 2012 and spent 13 seasons there. He's a 5-time first-team All-Pro and made the Pro Bowl 7 times, but he's coming off a career-low 73.3% season kicking percentage in 2024. He was cut with 3 years left on his 4-year, $22 million contract extension he signed in 22. The extension had made him the league's highest paid kicker at the time. All right, so that's pretty much the story. I think it's pretty simple. I am not a fan of Justin Tucker, just knowing how all of this went. I mean, I get it. He's denied whatever said allegations, but you got a 10-game suspension, which means, you know, there's smoke. At the bare minimum of there's smoke, there's some sort of fire there, one way or the other. I guess that's on the Saints if you want to bring in, you know, Mr. Freaky McNasty, but look at how that has turned out for the Browns as far as just karma. They brought in Deshaun Watson, paid him all that money, and karma had something to say about it, bro. Ended up severely injured, and you have to pay him out the ass for another set of years, only for Mr. McNasty to just be on your team and do nothing. I think let sleeping dogs lie. There are other kickers that are out there in these streets. He's also older. He's at 36, and his stuff was going down. So just go with a younger, non-problematic player, is my opinion. He's made plenty of money. Like at this point, like it is what it is. He'll be fine. So that's my 2 cents. I'm sure people feel differently about it one way or the other. So let me know what you think in the comments. But let's get to the last story, and we're going to end on a feel-good story, man. Shedeur Sanders. He did it. He went out there and started. He had his first start as a Cleveland Brown. And with that happening, he actually won in Sunday's game and has earned himself the starting job against the 49ers this coming week. This is ESPN reporting, rookie Shedeur Sanders will start at quarterback in Sunday's home game against the San Francisco 49ers. The Cleveland Browns coach Kevin Stefanski announced on Monday. Sanders, a fifth-round pick, will remain the starter even though fellow rookie Dillon Gabriel, a third-round pick, has cleared the concussion protocol, Stefanski said. With Gabriel sidelined, Sanders completed 11 of 20 passes for 209 yards and one touchdown and an interception in the Browns' 24-10 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday in his first NFL start. The number one job of a quarterback is to win, Stefanski said, so excited to get the first win under his belt, and the next thing is improvement, and that's what young players do. Certainly young quarterbacks do. You get one game better, and that's just from working at it, so that'll be our focus. When asked if Sanders starting would be a week-to-week decision, Stefanski said, I'm going to focus on this week, not going to get much past this week. Sanders became the 42nd quarterback to start for the Browns since 1999, has also become the first Cleveland quarterback to win his first NFL start since Eric Zaire in 1995. The victory ended a 17-game losing streak for the Browns in games with a quarterback making his first career start. That was the longest streak by any franchise since 1950 when QB starts were first recorded. First start of any quarterback, and you're going to make sure that the operation is how you want. And I thought, by and large, this was good. Stefanski said, there are things that we can clean up, and obviously that goes by all of us, the coaches, the players, the quarterback, where we can clean up some of our operation, but I thought communication was really good throughout the day with him. The big plays downfield, obviously the 52-yard completion to rookie wide receiver Isaiah Bond was very, very high degree of difficulty with that play. Are there things that he can do better? Absolutely. We've already talked about that with him. He has the mentality that he will make the adjustments to the speed of the game, make the adjustments to what people are giving him to make those improvements. Gabriel started the previous 5 games before suffering concussion against the Ravens in Week 11, which sidelined him for the second half of the 23-16 loss. In Sunday's game against the Raiders, in 8 games, 6 starts, Gabriel's completed 59.2% of his passes, 109 of 182 for 937, 7 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. The Browns went 1-4 in those games. Gabriel started before his injury. So, I say all this to say that people have been trying to say that Shedeur needed to start, that he was supposed to be, he was rumored to be a number 1 overall pick, or at least a first-round pick, and fell all the way to the 5th. There have been all sorts of rumors about why that happened, whether it be interviewing or denying that he would play for certain teams, things like that. But he showed up, man. He stayed the course. He got drafted in the 5th round. He dealt with all of the nonsense. He dealt with the media being asses about it. He dealt with people being ridiculous. He dealt with Stefanski making it very clear that he doesn't like Shedeur based off of his body language and how he talked about him and things like that. And here we are. Now, talk to certain people that follow Cleveland sports a little bit closer and that may or may not have, sources in the organization. They want to say all sorts of stuff, that it was Sanders is the reason at fault, that he wasn't good enough, that he wasn't studying enough, that anything else like that. But anybody else with an eye can clearly say, even if that's the case, he was more talented than Dillon Gabriel. And the way that he was being talked about by this coaching staff, specifically Stefanski, was just super shitty. And then he got the opportunity and he showed you what the deal was. And you even had people trying to make him out to be some sort of arrogant bad guy, even with the way he was talking about this victory. But when you look at that, it wasn't. It was the exact opposite. It was a situation with he big upped his O-line. He bigged up the offense. He bigged up the defense, all that kind of stuff. He went out there and did the damn thing. He is still a rookie, so he still has room to potentially not have things go off the way that it needs to, but I believe that he genuinely has the sauce to go off and do the damn thing. I'm laughing because it sounds like I have both of the Thomas men, both Matt and George, in here getting at me. George in particular, you got Dak, be quiet. Sure, I know I do. It is what it is. But I like I said, I still think that that's on the organization. I think the organization has handled their team incredibly poorly for years. Now, I've said this about Jerry Jones, but the one thing I will give Jerry credit for is that while our teams always end up being a dumpster fire in the end when it's time to get to the playoffs, he does put good talent together that does string together 12-win seasons all the time, double-digit seasons all the time, and stays in the mix. It just is a heartbreaking situation by the end of it. I'm thinking about the Myles Garretts of the world who, like, let me see if I can pull this photo really quick, because it was hysterical to see his face of essentially like, I have never seen a play like that before. Let's see if I can find it really fast. Um, at least not as a Brown. He hadn't seen it before. All right, hold on. I didn't save it directly. Myles Garrett. It is, let's see, this face right here. Oh my goodness. That's the face. That's the face of somebody be like, wait a minute, oh, our quarterback did that? That was us? I see where the double is. He's like, that was us, bro? That's crazy. You were talking about a generational talent, maybe the most talented defensive player just based off of consistency that we've seen. And him being in shock about a basic play that like a number of solid quarterbacks in the league could pull off, but he just hasn't had that kind of quarterback play. Like the only example of that he really saw was Baker, and the team gave up on Baker too quickly. There was like, yes, there were reports, and Baker has admitted himself that he wasn't maybe mature enough to handle the situation up there. But again, I put that on the organization that they continue to somehow muck this up. So I really hope, for the sake of Shedeur, that he goes in there and he continues to cook and he becomes the quarterback of the future. I hope for the sake of the Cleveland Brown fans, because I've never blamed the fans for the only thing I've blamed the Cleveland Brown fans for is the jokes they made when Deshaun signed with them, how they were okay despite all the stuff that was going on. I've never blamed the fans except for that. I feel bad that they haven't been able, again, except for that they haven't been able to really watch the team thrive. So all that being said, I hope that this is the beginning of the turnaround for that organization. I hope that Shedeur is the quarterback of the future and that he's balling out. And then the AFC North is a massive problem with 4 insanely talented, well, 3 right now. We'll see what the Pittsburgh Steelers ultimately do after this year when Aaron Rodgers' 1-year contract is up. But all that being said, let me know what you think about Shedeur starting. Let me know what you think about any of these stories, because that is going to wrap up the show. Thank you so much. Let's read these super chats and Streamlabs really quick before we get out of here. Alrighty, let me. I thought I had it open. Where did it go? Maybe I closed it. Oh, I must have closed it. Come on, me. Yeah, that sucks. All right, give me a second. Let me pull it back up. Streamlabs. There we go. Log in. So sorry about the dead air, folks. I don't even remember closing this thing. Continue. Okay. Continue. There it is. Okay. So we have the 2 super chats that came in. Again, thank you so much. The first one from Izzy98, who donated a super chat. Thank you so much. What's up? What movie are you most looking forward to next year? That is a great question. The 2026 movie slate, movies coming out. Obviously, we know the superhero movies of Doomsday and Supergirl. Some of the other major ones that are coming out, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, Scream 7, the Odyssey. There's a lot of stuff. I'm into all of those ones that I kind of mentioned. I'm trying to think what else is supposed to come out that I've been thinking about. The Bride. I'm actually pretty excited about The Bride. That looks pretty good. What else? Is that the Mummy movie coming out? There's no way. That's got to be a different Mummy. Because I was like, there's no way that the Mummy that they're trying to do with Brendan Fraser, the revival, comes out. They're doing a Devil Wears Prada 2. Interesting. This is what I mean about just like reviving whatever said franchises. But I'll be there. I'll have a butt in the seat for that. Mortal Kombat 2. I'm excited about that. The Street Fighter movie. I'm excited about that. Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm excited about that. There's a Masters of the Universe film. I'm looking forward to that. What else? Scary Movie 6. That's right. They're bringing back Scary Movie. Toy Story 5. It's a lot of repeats. I'm excited about them, but like, damn. I'm interested to see the Moana movie. Obviously I'm super excited about Spider-Man Brand New Day. A lot of stuff going to be dropping next year. But thank you so. Oh, and the Clayface movie. I think the Clayface movie is probably in my top 3 there. I think it's probably Spider-Man. No, it's Spider-Man, Supergirl, and Clayface are my top 3. Doomsday is obviously huge. It's probably my immediate number 4 there. But as I've said, the new Jumanji movie is going to come out. That's going to be great. I've just said that with the turmoil that the MCU has kind of had being up and down, until I see a trailer and things like that, I'm kind of stemming my excitement just a little bit. And I'm more excited for other movies that are kind of just doing their thing at the moment, or had a track record of being good so far without any kind of slip up. So that's just me, but I'm very curious. Thank you so much, Izzy. Anybody else, if you want to throw in there what movies you're looking forward to? And Norvell Ross comes in and just with a super chat just says showing support. Thank you so much, Norvell. Appreciate you. So that will be the show. I want to thank everybody again for joining me for the Blerd Breakdown. Let me go ahead and remind you one more time. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Throw the thumbs up on this so you can check out all the content that will be coming out on the channel going forward. Other than that, I'm trying to think some of the other stuff that you should know. Tomorrow, Spill the Tequila, myself and John Roca will be breaking some stuff down. I'm sure we'll be talking about the Cowboys again and any other news that comes popping off. I'm most excited about this Wednesday in honor of Thanksgiving. We do have Blerds in the Hood, but we are going to be doing a Blerds in the Hood special. We're going to be playing Black Family Feud. Your boy will be hosting. Jay will be going up against our guy in the chair, Mr. Matt Thomas. We may potentially be having a not like a full-blown 5-on-5, but a family kind of style of a tag team duo going up against each other. I will clarify that, but you don't want to miss it. I sent this survey out. We genuinely asked. Right now, I want to say we are like 90 black people. I'm trying to get to a full-on 100, but these answers have been absolutely hilarious, and the game is going to be a lot of fun. You don't want to miss it. YouTube.com/blerdsinthehood. Friday, Capes and Cows. I think we may be off for the holiday, but I'll let you know. But it would be myself, Christian, and Chris Carr. And then finally, I had an audition today, so I had to miss the taping for another reaction with Christian doing Demon Slayer. We're trying to get that rescheduled for later this week, but if we don't, we'll be back the following weekend as well. So that is going to be everything. Thank you so much again for watching the Blerd Breakdown. I will see you on the flip, man. I got to get out of here. Peace.